The MLB lockout is officially over and baseball is coming back. But in the new agreement, there's a lot of new rules that need to be implemented in the next couple of seasons. So today I'm going to talk to you about the biggest rule changes coming to the MLB and what they mean for the game. One of the biggest and most controversial rule changes is the implementation of a universal designated hitter. The DH has been around for decades in the American League, but now it's being added to the National League as well. The rule allows for a designated hitter to come in and bat on behalf of a pitcher so that the pitcher doesn't have to bat when it gets to his turn in the order. As a result of this rule change, the National League should see an increase in hits, most noticeably in the third and even second inning when pitchers would typically come up to bat. It also means that we're a lot less likely to get great moments like Bartolo Colon's only career home run. Because if you're a pitcher and your name isn't Shohei Ohtani, then you're probably not going to be coming up to bat much anymore. The league is also getting rid of the 7-inning doubleheader rule. Now when teams have to play a doubleheader, they will play 2 9-inning games. Now hopefully that shouldn't matter too much, with the pandemic becoming less and less of an issue. The MLB is also planning to do away with the rule where teams start off with a base runner on second base in extra innings. Or at least that's how it's looking at the moment. That being said, it also looks like there's maybe a push to bring it back for another season, so we'll see how it goes. The MLB is also expanding the postseason picture to include 12 teams, 6 in the American League, 6 in the National League. Notably, the MLB has also eliminated the possibility of a 163rd game as a tiebreaker. Ties will instead be decided like how it's done in the NFL, based on tie-breaking criteria, with head-to-head record being the most important. Starting with the 2023 MLB draft, the first 6 picks will be determined based on a lottery system, like in the NBA. The 18 teams that did not make the postseason the year before are all eligible for this lottery. And the worse you did the year before, the higher a shot you have at getting an earlier draft pick. This lottery system will be used to determine the first 6 picks of the draft. One obvious upside to this system is that it discourages tanking. You can have by far the worst record in the MLB, but that doesn't necessarily guarantee that you're going to have the number 1 overall pick. The MLB will now be allowing sponsors to advertise on uniforms. Don't worry, players are not going to turn into walking billboards and they're not going to have sponsors like they're a NASCAR driver. Not quite. Instead, we're looking at a little patch on the jersey and maybe a decal on the helmet. Nothing too serious. So I've mentioned a lot of changes that are coming to the MLB immediately. However, not everything is being put in place this season. The MLB has also adopted some new ideas that they're testing out first in the minor leagues, and if things go well there, the plan is to implement them into the majors next year. One of those things is increasing the size of bases. Now, the new bases are not going to look quite this big, not even next to Jose Altuve. It's really just a couple inch increase. A few effects that we can expect to see from this little change. 1, a slight increase in number of stolen bases. This should also make it less common that runners are ruled out for oversliding and their hand coming off the base for a split second. Another big change is that we can expect to see the MLB put a ban on the defensive shift starting in the year 2023. A ban on the shift is being experimented with in the minors this year, and as long as that doesn't go horribly wrong, the MLB plans to do the same in the majors the year after. The shift has been used very commonly and most regularly against left-handed hitters who have a tendency to pull on every hit, meaning that they never hit oppo, a left-handed batter that always hits to the right side of the field. When a batter that statistically never hits it to the left side of the field comes up to bat, the defense will often move virtually their entire infield over to the right half of the field, anticipating that that's where the ball's going. But if the shift is banned, then that type of stuff would not be allowed. Instead, teams will be required to have 2 infielders on each side of the second base bag. Essentially, you can expect positions to play where those positions conventionally are located. The MLB is also looking to add a pitch clock, adding it to the minor leagues this year. That looks like a 14-second pitch clock with empty bases and a 19-second pitch clock when there's a runner on base. The amount of time between pitches doesn't really seem like that big or problematic of an issue, but we all know that Rob Manfred is hell-bent on pace of game, keeping games running fast, getting them over with quickly. So I think we all knew this was coming at some point, and we can probably all learn to live with it. While the MLB schedule for this upcoming season is already set in stone, we can expect those teams' schedules to look a lot different next year. In an effort to balance out schedules, the plan is that every team in the MLB will play each other at least once throughout the year. That means that your favorite team will play all 29 other teams at some point throughout that year. Now, these plans come with a lot of implications, one of which is that teams like the Dodgers and the Astros will get to play each other for at least one series every year. Now, the idea behind schedules like this is that in theory it should make things more balanced and a little bit more fair. Because no matter what division or league you're in, you're playing against both a lot of really good teams and a lot of really bad teams. Whereas if you're playing against divisional opponents half the time, well, then what kind of division you're in really matters a lot more. Because the better division you're in, the more of a disadvantage you're at. If you're playing against really bad teams, you should have no problem having an even better record. Now, the reality is that what division you're in is going to matter a lot no matter what. I mean, you're competing for a division title so that you can go on and make the postseason. Now, I suppose that having teams play more similar schedules and more out-of-division games, it does force the wild card race to be a bit more balanced. Now, one of the biggest downsides to doing schedules like this is kind of also what's intended to be one of its biggest upsides: less divisional games. Yeah, in theory it makes things a bit more fair in a way, but also you get to watch less divisional games, which is a bummer because those are the most fun games to watch usually, whether that's Red Sox versus Yankees, Dodgers Giants, Phillies Mets, whatever it is. Your division rivals are almost always the best games to watch. Alright, well, the actual MLB collective bargaining agreement is over 100 pages long, so obviously I left out more than a few things, but hopefully this video gives you an idea of the biggest changes coming to the league and how they're going to impact the play of the game. If you liked this video or found it at all informative, go ahead and hit subscribe and check out our other videos on our channel. We've got a podcast that comes out once a week and lots of other awesome content.